The Torah tells us that when Yitzchak and Rivka were desperately trying to have children, Vaye'etar Yitzchak lamunai lenochach ishto, and Yitzchak prayed to God opposite his wife. And the question is, what is it that Yitzchak was trying to achieve by praying opposite his wife? Surely the two of them were praying for the same thing. Surely they should have prayed side by side. And the answer that's brought in some of the commentaries is fascinating. Yitzchak was a man of great internal courage and strength. He was the owner of the midah of givurah. He had an internal strength and faith in God that if God did not want him to have children, Yitzchak could have made himself okay with that. But he knew that if he prayed opposite his wife, not next to her, but he watched his wife as she prayed, and he saw the tears streaming down her face, Yitzchak himself would be unable to help himself from praying to God with all of his heart. And a tefillah that is expressed to God with one's whole heart, with all of their emotion, with all of their devotion, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has to accept. This power of tefillah, when it's prayed from the depths of one's soul, with the greatest of conviction, is something that can change even something that is written in the stars. Menashe was one of the worst people that the Jewish people ever had as their leader. He caused the entire Jewish people to go astray. And after he is captured, and he is in a very tight spot, and there's nothing else that can save him, Menashe turns to God. And the Pasuk says, Vayishma Hashem, and God heard, Vayehater lo. Asks the Gemara in Sanhedrin on page Kuf Gimel. The Gemara asks, it should say, and he prayed, and God heard him, Vayehater lo. But the funny thing is, says the Gemara, he needed more. Vayehater lo teaches us that God dug him a tunnel in the very heavens itself to evade the midat hadin, to work around the attribute of justice, because for all intents and purposes we could all agree that Menashe did not deserve to be saved. But because God wanted to answer the heartfelt prayer of Menashe, the worst of the worst, who was uttering a prayer with all of his heart, a prayer of truth, of emet, Hashem dug a tunnel underneath the Kiseh HaKavod and figured out how to answer his prayers even against the objections of the attribute of justice, even if he did not deserve it. This coming Tu B'Av, the Jewish people have the opportunity to take part in something which is formidable. Yad La'achim is conducting yet again a day where all of Am Yisrael comes together. Over 500,000 people will pray together for one thing, not for their own success, not for their own dreams, but rather for the Shidduch, for the coming together, for the zivug, for the family life, for the binyan ad, for the bayit ne'eman, for the Jewish home of so many people out there who are trying to get married. This is not just something which is about crisis, a shidduch crisis, but rather it is about the fact that so many people are trying to meet their soulmate, their other half of their neshama, and for one reason or another are not able to do so. It might be because they haven't been introduced to them. It might be because someone said Lashon Hara. It might be because they come from the wrong family and they have the wrong last name. But for whatever reason, they're not getting that most important thing, a person's ability to connect with the other half of their soul. It's one thing to not have a home or to not have a place, but to not have something which is literally the other half of you is so difficult. Hashem in heaven cannot help but be moved by the prayers of the Tefillat Rabim, of all of Am Yisrael coming together on a day which was set aside. It was misugal, and it is potent for this specific thing, where the Jewish people since time immemorial would figure out how to marry off their single boys and their single girls. They would use various methodologies and ways of raising each of the singles, the men and the women, in each other's eyes, as we all know happened on this day. So once again this year, Yad La'achim is asking you to reach out on behalf of yourself or on behalf of others, It is even more powerful if it is not for you. As the Gemara says, Kol hamitpalel ba'at havero, anyone who prays for their friend, v'hu tzarich le'oto davar, and he needs that thing as well, hu ne'ena tehillah, he gets answered first. The commentators explain it's like a person who's a plumber and he's fixing the pipe that brings water into a home. You know what? Even if the pipe is bringing water somewhere else, the chances of him not getting wet from that same pipe are next to none. May God bless each and every one of the young people in Am Yisrael with the zivug hagun, with the one that they are looking for. May God bless the parents who are agonizing over who's going to find and how they're going to be able to make their child happy for the rest of his life. May God bless all of them with the beracha and the simcha that they seek. Additionally, at tubaavtogether.com, there's a fantastic option. You can add for yourself or for any one of your friends or family members that is looking to try and get married, their names on the website. It doesn't cost a dime. There's no agenda other than the fact that Am Yisrael is coming together for one another. What a beautiful thing to do in the aftermath of Tisha B'Av is to rebuild through Tu B'Av. I have to say one thing. This great opportunity carries with it a very powerful prayer. The prayer of 10 Talmidei Chachamim, 10 righteous men praying at the grave of Rabbi Yonatan ben Uziel in Amuka. One of the Tanaim who was very, very connected with Torah, but never actually married. It is a wonderful sigula to go to his grave and to pray to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that in his merit, a person should be able to find their own zivug. Adding the names there will ensure that they are added to that tefillah as well. Sometimes we don't realize things that we mean in the nicest of ways come across a little bit hurtful. What does it feel like if you're the single brother or sister of the chatan or kala at a wedding, and for the 50th time that night someone says those words that are meant as a bracha but come across as a dig, Im Yirtzeh Hashem by you, please God by you, you're next, get ready. These things, we don't mean them, but they can cut like a knife. So maybe instead of comments like that, we will utter those words to HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself, recognizing, like it says by Yitzchak, lenochach ishto, the pain of someone who is in need, who wants something, but is unable to figure out how to get it. Am Yisrael together, there's something very powerful about those prayers. There was a young man who came to me in my community who was trying for a long time to get married. And I suggested to him, maybe perhaps, if you focused on helping someone else who needed the same thing, then maybe that would be a merit for you as well. He reached out to an organization in Israel, and he helped sponsor a young couple, orphans in fact, who couldn't come to a chuppah. They couldn't pay for a wedding. They found each other but couldn't make it happen. And initially he thought he would do half of the wedding, but after seeing this couple and getting involved, he paid for the entire wedding out of his own pocket. It was not 6 weeks later when he called me to tell me, Mazal Tov, that he had met his nasib, his zivug. God notices when we look out for other people's pain. God notices when we say that that is a thing that deserves to be responded to. And when we do so, Hashem midah keneged midah does so in heaven as well. Hazaku Baruch.
Heard about Tu B'Av together for Shidduchim? Here it is in 60 seconds. On Friday, August 12th, Tu B'Av at 10 a.m., over 500,000 Jews across the world will unite in Tefillah for Shidduchim in Yad La'achen's Tu B'Av together. There will be a live online Tefillah event being led by leading Gedolim, Rabbanim, and speakers, where you can recite the 8 chapters of Tehillim together with Klal Yisrael. Watch it live at tubaavtogether.com. At the same time, Talmidei Chachamim will be davening in Amuka for your names for Tefillah. This year, for the first time, there will be a live pre-Tu B'Av musical inspiration on Thursday, August 11th at 7:30 p.m., the night of Tu B'Av. The live event will feature performances from today's leading music stars, plus inspiration by Rabbi Y.Y. Jacobson. Right now, go to tubaavtogether.com to download the Tehillim to be said on Tu B'Av. Submit your names for free and watch incredible videos about Tu B'Av together. Thursday night and Friday morning of Tu B'Av, tune in for the live events. You, yes you, watching this now, your participation is important as we all unite on Tu B'Av together.